All right, here's something I found very interesting. After I went and lubricated my left front shifter for my front derailleur, I got that working again. I got all my clicks back. So we got all the slack here. The derailleur's down relaxed position. We got slack here, I can tell by because we have loose cable, but the chain is still here on the big ring. The chain should be on number 1 gear along with on number 1 on the shifter. So when I go ahead and pedal, the chain is staying in place on the big ring. So the derailleur itself has a spring, and that spring always wants to bring that derailleur, this is the derailleur cage, the chrome part, always wants to bring it in towards the frame. Boom. That spring, once you hit the shifter, the spring is going to click. It's going to take it in as far as the shifter allows it. So from big ring to middle ring to small ring if you have a triple. So right now the spring is maybe some jammed. There could be a small rock in there. This thing, the front derailleur does have a lot of pivot points. We probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 or 6 pivot points in here along with the spring. So something could just be jammed in there, could be rusted, it could have sweat in there, somebody sweat too much, didn't rinse it off, or possibly not enough lubrication. So I'm gonna go ahead and pedal. So physically, I just pushed it over and drop down to the small ring there, so that's nice. So the chain went down to the small ring, number 1 ring. So this is a 3-speed, 1, 2, and 3. 1 being the smallest, that's your easy climbing gear. So I'm going to manually move this guy out. So I'm going to be able to feel what the spring feels like, also feel if the pivot points are a little gummed up, a little dirty or rusted. So I'm going to pull this out. I'm pulling here on the cage, and I'm also putting a finger behind it to assist because it's pretty strong. And I just pulled it, and it's going back in really slowly, and I just pushed it in the rest of the way. So whatever movement, there's probably somewhere it's just all gummed up. Sometimes using too thick of an oil or grease, if you use it too much, it gets collected with dust, and if bike doesn't get cleaned periodically, then this can happen. So when I pull this out, you'll notice it's going to go back very slowly. It should snap back, kind of like a snapping turtle, and then I can push it the rest of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and try and spray in there. I'm going to try and get in where all the pivot points. I'm going to go ahead and use WD because it is so bad. So there's a pivot point. And when in doubt, when you can't find pivot points, just go ahead and continue to move it. Maybe find another bike, hit the shifter, have your derailleurs move, and you can see what is sliding. It's basically like a hinge door. So a little bit of WD. And when in doubt, if you're not sure where things are, just spray the whole thing. And inside there's a little spring in there, so I'm going to try and there's a big coil spring. If you can get your eyes on that, try and get some juice in there. And you may have to come at it from the back side. And if you could somehow get the shifter to work, have it click up to the middle, maybe to the big ring, and that'll open up the derailleur, and you can get better shots of what's going on inside there. So I'm going to see if that did anything for me. So I'm going to go ahead and test it again. Pull it out. Still going back in a little slow. Now I'm just going to exercise it, pull and push, pull and push. See if we can, and worst case, very unlikely, but maybe the spring inside here is just very worn out and it's doesn't have the same pressure to pull this cage back into the smaller chain rings. But just keep working it. Now that we located the problem, we know it's not an adjustment problem, a cable problem. It's more so a linkage problem inside this front derailleur. So just continue to work those parts until it gets ungummed up.